listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Pharming Your Career podcast with host Dr. Aaron L. Albert, where we explore a variety of healthcare and pharmacy-related topics, including career development, healthcare IT, informatics, innovation, entrepreneurship, STEM, women's issues, and more. Pharming Your Career podcast is part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aaron L. Albert.
Welcome to Pharming Your Career. I'm Aaron Albert. This is a special edition outside of our first and second seasons around Medipreneurs, which is an exciting conference that's happening in April in Asheville, North Carolina. Actually, in full disclosure, I'll be one of the speakers there. I'm going to talk about writing and publishing and how to build your brand around writing and publishing as a pharmacist and healthcare professional. But we wanted to bring on one of the co-founders of the Medipreneurs Summit. And today I'll be speaking with Sue Paul. She's a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and small business owner with over 20 years of experience in the industry. She's going to share in great detail her own career path and the multiple gigs that she has going on simultaneously, one of which is the Medipreneurs Conference. Give a listen to my conversation with Sue Paul of Medipreneurs. Welcome to Pharming Your Career. We're here with guest Sue Paul today talking about Medipreneurs. I'm really excited to be part of this conference myself coming up in April. So with that, we wanted to talk to one of the masterminds behind this concept and this newer conference for pharmacy entrepreneurs. So with that, Sue, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me. We're excited that you're going to be at our conference also.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be talking about writing and publishing and how to build your thought leadership around that. So thank you for that opportunity. And I've not done that in a long time, so that'll be a lot of fun. But let's start with the question I always start with all of my guests. How did you get to where you are today in your own career, Sue?
It's been quite a journey, Aaron. As you know, I'm sure. Every day's an adventure. But right now I have 3 businesses that I'm part of. I have an independent concierge consulting business, and what we do first in that Synergy Consulting. And what we do for that is we work in physicians' offices, in patients' homes, and at work sites with self-insured insurance, and help the patients navigate their medications. So it's been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. The way that I got there was I did all the traditional roles. I did a big box chain, independent pharmacy, nursing home consulting, and hospital. And I just was not finding a way to be able to take care of the patients the way that I wanted to take care of them. Actually explored opening my own independent pharmacy for about a year. And during that exploration, decided I didn't want to be in that box. I wanted to go to where the patients are. And so that's kind of how Synergy evolved. Went through a bunch of business mentoring and a business incubator, and they helped me develop my business plan. And then that became Synergy Consulting. While I was going through it, I actually wanted to do a transition of care program from hospital to home to help patients manage their medicines. And my SCORE mentor, I used SCORE for a lot of my business skills. They said, well, bank robbers go to the bank because that's where the money is. Why don't you go to the doctor's office because that's where the patients are? And so I pivoted my plan and began that route. From that, while I was at the hospital, I was introduced to pharmacogenomics because all of our cardiologists were prescribing Brilinta and Effient after a patient would have a stent placed. And the patients would come back with $87 copays per month, and they have to be on this for a year. And I thought, why aren't they using Plavix? So I did some digging and found out 26% of the population can't metabolize Plavix to its active metabolite. And found out there was a simple cheek swab for that. This was back in 2011, 2012. found a company who would actually do the cheek swabs for me, pitched it to the cardiologists, and they said, well, we don't want to know if they can't metabolize other medications such as codeine and stuff, and we're not ready for that yet. So throughout the journey, I'm at this primary care office. We have a high in downtown Cincinnati, lots of mental health issues, and I pulled out my pharmacogenomic card to help with it takes about 6 to 9 months for a patient to get into psych. And so the PCPs, the primary cares, are the ones who start prescribing, and they love it. I mean, they were very comfortable with their 3 medicines that they would rely on. If this medicine didn't work, they'd use that one and then the third one. But outside of that box, they were a little less comfortable. So it's been a perfect union with a pharmacist, being able to educate the patients about the medicines, doing the pharmacogenomic testing, analyzing the results. The patients love it, the docs love it. So with all this business type stuff, you know, it can be a lonely place. And Anna Garrett was in my one business coaching opportunity that I had, and so I would rely on her. She would call me if she had issues, or she would put me in touch with somebody who might be doing similar things. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, I wonder if somebody else is out there, if there's other pharmacists, and that's how Medipreneurs was born. We just wanted to be there for people who are kind of trying to do out of the box type things, who need the support and maybe some mentorship from people who have been there, done that. And then just finally, our last business, PGX 101, we started this past year because we realized not enough pharmacists and doctors, healthcare providers, know about the benefits of pharmacogenomics or don't have enough information. And so that's kind of how that one evolved.
So there's a lot going on there, but we want to unpack specifically the Medipreneurs component of all the things you do here on this particular podcast today. So tell us expand a little bit more, give us the thumbnail sketch of how Medipreneurs kind of evolved over time, when it first started live, and where we are today with it.
Yeah, so I guess it was probably 2013, 2014, where Anna and I were in the business group, mentoring group, or coaching group, and we're the only pharmacists, and so we kind of gravitated toward each other. And as I said, then we were just sitting at an IHOP on Tunnel Road, and one day, and it's like, I wonder if there's more pharmacists out there. And then the idea just blossomed. It's one of those 20 seconds of crazy. It probably took us 2 years, a year and a half to plan, and our first event was this past April of 2018. We had 86 attendees, 70 were paid, the others were speakers and such, and it went off beautifully, even better than we could have ever imagined. So much so that 50 of the 70 already signed up and paid for this coming year. So we like the intimacy of it. We're going to limit it to 150 participants, because we want to be able to know all the people who are coming, and to be able to just create that network and community.
That's awesome that you're having, a lot of quote unquote repeat offenders, in a good way, I guess, that are returning to the conference. So they definitely must have seen value in the first one. Can you walk through a little more specifics on the content and why you feel like it's kind of a missing or an outage in the marketplace, maybe, for our listeners?
Yes, because it doesn't deal with traditional pharmacy roles typically, or we encourage pharmacists to be entrepreneurial, like find other avenues of where pharmacists can make an impact at their current paid jobs. Pharmacy schools don't really touch on that. I don't know how many other conferences really touch on that part. It's a lot of activity-based versus knowledge-based skills that you'll learn here. And so that's what makes Medipreneurs different.
Okay, and so do you have like a theme this year? What is different or the same versus last year? I know some of your speakers have mixed up, obviously, but is there a theme or anything this year?
It's basically just taking the next steps for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. There really isn't a theme.
Okay.
That's basically our platform.
Got it. And is it just for pharmacists? Is it for all healthcare professionals? Give us a thumbnail sketch of the breakdown of the audience.
So we open it. Our goal is to do it for all healthcare professionals. We're starting with pharmacists because that's what we're comfortable with. I think all but one were pharmacists last year, and he was actually a financial advisor who works with pharmacists. So he kind of wanted to see what was going on, what we were talking about. So it had quite a mix of attendees. We had from kids who hadn't graduated yet, I call them kids, but to 70-year-olds.
Wow.
And we had 19 different states and Canada. So
cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Can you maybe just walk us through briefly a thumbnail sketch of the agenda this year?
Our agenda is somewhat similar, but different than other conferences. Our keynote speaker, she's back because she just does such a fantastic job. She wrote a book called From Pilot to Profit. She's not a pharmacist. So she's kind of that type of coach where she gets you from your pilot idea to a business that actually makes a profit. Her name is Lisa Larder, and so she's back this year. We're excited to have her. And then we've got a couple pharmacists on the docket this year. Stephanie Ferrari from University of North Carolina. She's going to talk about creative ideas in community pharmacy. So expanding that to be more entrepreneurial.
Okay.
And we've got Eric Miller. He is a big fan of lean startup. He is not a pharmacist either, but he's kind of getting us where we are from the seeds of an idea and taking the action steps and what might need to be included to get you where you want to go. Then we have yourself and Ashley Hayes. You're both kind of doing some branding, marketing, writing, becoming the expert in your field, that type of information. And then we have John Preckshot, who is going to be talking about nutrition and how pharmacists can use that and vitamins and nutrigenomics and that type of thing and incorporate it into their business. And then Molly Scott is doing comprehensive medication management services as a pharmacist embedded in a physician's office, which I think needs to happen everywhere. And then lastly, it'll be myself and Dan Krinsky talking about pharmacogenomics and about our company.
Awesome. So it sounds like it kind of runs the gamut inside pharmacy and outside pharmacy, but employing some of those entrepreneurial behaviors. So I really appreciate that. And to your point, yeah, pharmacy schools tend to do kind of a lousy job at least the entrepreneurial part of pharmacy. So it's exciting that you all are focused on that. So give us a little bit more about who you think might be ideal for this. You mentioned entrepreneurial behavior and entrepreneurial behavior, pharmacy, but any more beyond that? Does it apply to all practice settings for pharmacy potentially?
I really think it does. I had 3 friends from college who came last year. They've been in retail pharmacy since we graduated 20 plus years ago. And they left with ideas and action plans. And that is probably what hit my heart the hardest, because they just came to support, and they actually were able to take things away from it. Like, I've had this idea about doing this, and now I'm going to try, and I know who I need to contact and to implement and that type of thing. So that was extremely encouraging. So it's not just people who are kind of on the fringes or outside the box. It's anyone.
Okay. Well, there's a huge pool of pharmacists out here now, and I know a lot of them are looking for different career alternatives. So I think you'll have a big pool to pull from. When and where, can you give us the logistics around this conference? Is it this year?
It's again in April 26th to the 28th. It's again in Asheville. We picked Asheville initially because it is actually an entrepreneurial community and home of the Asheville Project. Dan Garrett, who was he's kind of the mastermind behind the Asheville Project. He's our MC this year. That's when and where it is.
Cool. So is the only option for people to attend live in person, or do you have other options for attendance?
I'm glad you asked that question. Oh, you know what? I forgot about George Thorek. He's talking about entrepreneurship and pharmacy schools. So wanted to add him in there.
Yeah.
Since you asked, UNC is providing our continuing education, and we're taking steps. We're going to be recording it, and we are taking steps to see if we can get those portions accredited for CEU. So we're working on that.
Okay.
So thank you for asking.
Sure. Give me the arguments for why pharmacists should take time to attend this type of event. I mean, there's hundreds, literally, pharmacy meetings anymore. There's cutting back of professional development funds at employers. Pharmacists' time is limited. A lot of them are burning vacation now to go to professional development conferences. So give us your sales pitch, your full court press here, Sue, on why pharmacists should attend this event.
It's different because it's a community. It's a tribe that we've built. Our top sponsor last year said he was so excited to be there. He said, I can't believe the energy in this room. We haven't even started yet. And it's just, he's like, the energy is better than the last 10 pharmacy conferences I've been to. Everyone was open, sharing, helpful, that type of thing. And you need to invest in yourself. You know, if you want to stay where you are, keep doing what you're doing. That's great. But if you want to move beyond the metrics and frustration and do some meaningful work, maybe you need to start exploring other options, because we have so many skills and so much to offer patients as far as solving their problems. It's just so rewarding.
Yeah, it sounds like you have quite a variety of speakers and topics to really expand upon the traditional roles of community practice and the institutional setting. So appreciate that. What's your hope for, along with your co-founders, the kind of development over time of this conference over the next, 5 to 10 years? What does ideal look like for you?
Well, we'd like to offer more support, build more support into it throughout the year that's not during the conference, and then offer like toolkits to be able to, for somebody who, hey, I need a business plan. Okay, well, I'll just go to the website and find, and that stuff's available out there, but just kind of curate it into one spot. Just have those resources available.
Okay. And so we have a special offer. The Medipreneurs group was kind enough to give our listeners an exclusive discount. So would you like to share that at this point, Sue?
Yeah, we're excited to offer people who are listening to Erin's podcast have $100 off. The code word, you just go to medipreneurs.com. Our code word is Erin, all capital letters, ERIN, and it's available until February 28th, 2019.
So special offer, exclusive for our listeners. Again, medipreneurs.com, and the secret code is ERIN, all caps. We really appreciate that. Thank you for being very generous with that discount on registration, Sue. Is there anything else I didn't ask you that you really wanted to share with our listeners about, career development as it relates to the Medipreneurs Conference?
We just want pharmacists to be the best that they can be. So many wonderful things are happening in pharmacy right now. Ohio just got provider status. There's going to be so many opportunities. I see the role of the pharmacist as the automaton and the dispensing type thing kind of going away. And so this is preparing people for that type of thing. We have some workshops on Sunday afternoon. Bruce Berger's coming in to talk about motivational interviewing. We've got a marketing and branding strategist, and Lisa Larder's giving a talk, and so are John Preckshot and Anna Garrett about nutrition and the fun things you can do with that to help patients. Because America's over-medicated, and if we can get away from the fee-for-service type pharmacy services and actually help improve patients' lives, I just think that's where pharmacy needs to be.
Well, with that, Sue, Paul, thank you for joining us today on Pharming Your Career. Would you like to leave our listeners with a meaningful way for them to connect with you personally?
Of course. Feel free to reach out to me. The best email for me is suepaulrph@gmail.com. And if you have any information, you can visit any of our websites. Got Synergy. It's spelled SYNERXGY.com, PGX101.com, and Medipreneurs.com.
Well, with that, Sue Paul, Medipreneurs, April 26th through the 28th, Asheville. Join them. And thanks again for being part of Pharming Your Career, Sue.
Thanks, Erin. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pharming Your Career podcast, part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. If you have ideas or comments for Erin, be sure to contact her through Twitter. Follow her at Erin L. Albert. And remember to keep your career growing.